KJ Method. I'm so happy that you've decided to join us. What I'd like to do today is talk about some study tips. What I notice over time is that a ton of students are passing their pre-license course, but then they're not able to pass their state exam. That's my passion. I want to get you to pass and become licensed and out there working selling real estate. All right, so let's go over what I would say are the 8 most important study tips. Number 1, you need to have a consistent schedule. I see this all the time. Students pick the material up, put the material down. Pick the material up, put the material down. You need to take a specific period of time out of your schedule and say, that is when I'm going to study. Whether it is 5 a.m., 10 p.m., but you need 2 to 3 solid hours every day in order to get this material down. What happens if you don't do that is you pick it up, then you lose that information, and then you try to pick it up again. And we continuously go through this cycle. We do not want to take 5, 6, 7, and 8 months to pass this exam. Let's just get it done one time. So let's first have a consistent study schedule. The next thing, avoid overloading your brain. What do I mean by that? This is a lot of information. And so we have to figure out a way to synthesize this information and get it into our brains. How do we do it? Well, we can study and then take a rest. Then study, then take a rest. What I often suggest to my students is when you feel like you can no longer remember information, then you should switch your study schedule. So move to a 40-minute on, 20-minute off. 40-minute on, 20-minute off. And when you're off for the 20 minutes, really be off. Go watch some TV, just relax, be with your family, and then come back and put in another strong 40 minutes. The next thing, use a variety of study materials. Now, the KJ method provides everything you need all in one place. But what I mean by this is very often when you're studying, you need to study vocabulary, you need to study math, and you need to be able to get the content down. A big mistake is that students just study the vocabulary. That is a huge mistake. Now, the vocabulary is your number one job. But after you have gotten the vocabulary down, you have got to move over to test questions because you need to know how that vocabulary is utilized in a question. And so you're going to move from vocabulary, move over to test questions, and then move over to the math. All of this together will get you to passing that real estate exam. Number 4, push your limits. What do I mean by that? Guys, in order to pass the real estate licensing exam, you must understand the material. It's not just about the vocabulary and knowing what the word means. Do you know the concept? Can you fully understand the material? So when you're studying, I want you to go past the vocabulary and see if you can truly understand in what context this situation would come about. Number 5, use acronyms and references. Honestly, I like references a whole lot better than I like acronyms. Acronyms give students a false sense of security that they got the acronym down, so now they know all of the possible ways for an easement to be created. The problem with that is the real estate exam doesn't test in a list form. They test more in an understanding form. So I like references better. When would you use this? What does this refer to, as opposed to saying, here is a list of acronyms. So be careful with that. The next thing, get enough rest. Of course, this goes without saying. I had a student that called me the other day, I'm just gonna pull an all-nighter. And I go, oh my goodness. You know what I'm worried about? As soon as you get to the exam, that brain is gonna stop working. All right. And so you have to make sure that you're getting enough rest. This goes back to your study schedule, 40 minutes on, 20 minutes off. Use a study guide. One of the biggest problems here is that students do not know how to synthesize this material. There is a ton of information on the real estate exam. And what do you need to do? You don't need the same amount of information at the end that you had at the beginning. We got to figure out a way to take all of this information and synthesize it down to an outline form. So then you're looking at the outline and going through the outline, and then you should be able to understand and recognize all of the material that you went through in the class. In the KJ method, yes, we have outlines. At the end of the national portion, you should be able to take all 50 pages, put them together, read through all 50 pages, and you should be understanding what is going to be there for the real estate exam. Lastly, simplify your thinking. You should not change answers unless you know that answer is incorrect. You should not read things into the question that are not in the question. We typically, in my class, go through these exercises. You see the word always. Are you going to pick that answer? You're only going to pick that answer if it always happens. If there is any way that you can think that it doesn't happen, then that is not the correct answer. We see that in always, never, all of the time. You're going to be really careful with those types of answers. You're also not going to read things into the question. If it is not there, then they don't mean for it to be there. So we're going to be just simple. Sometimes the answers are just as simple as, where did Johnny go? Johnny went to the store. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Those are my 8 most important study tips. Hopefully they were helpful to you on your journey to get started in passing your licensing exam. Also, before I go, make sure you hit subscribe so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. All right, that's it from the KJ Method. See you next time.